I thought this was kind of funny. Does this totally make up for my homophobic and transsexual jokes? A pink shirt with the rainbow flag with the Bianca Fights the Zombies sign on it. You know, it's funny. People sell these shirts. I understand, like, the big channels, or they have big audiences. They'll pay $23. I'm selling these shirts for $12. Because, but I think they're awesome. That looks freaking awesome. Anyway, you can click the links in the title to send me your art. People are sending me new art every day. It's just, I'm seeing just amazing artists, and that I can't believe I was drawing my own art to put on the channel just to have little icons and stuff. And I'm so bad compared to what people are sending in. And if you want to enter the art contest or join the Discord or support the channel on Patreon or the Coffee website, I have been listening to the Exploring series about exploring the SCP universe. I don't really know what the SCP is. I assume it's a video game or role-playing game, but it's a pretty good collection of sci-fi, horror, fantasy short stories. Anyway, I was scrolling through the comics and came across something called Butcher Queen by Jim Owlsley. Big no prize if you know who that is. Like I said, when I see certain covers, I know exactly what to expect. You see a black or Middle Eastern girl on the cover, then the book is going to be crazy racist. Let me just jump to the punchline right here. The aliens, the protagonist gets shot with a Mauser from World War II. And this is what she has to say about this. I can't even read it on YouTube because they're not good with certain things. Anyway, if you see a little black girl on the cover, run for your life, because the woke levels will be off the charts. Another guaranteed bad sign is a breastless woman with a mental illness haircut, i.e. half the head shaved. That is the worst possible sign. A step down from that is dyed hair, blue, green, or red. A step down from that is a black chick with a short fro. The absolute top of the cringe food chain would be a little black girl wearing glasses with her hair and pigtails. The most racist stories are written by globalist types or women who have lost their minds due to feminism, which is 100% of the women who work in mainstream comics. It might actually be more than 100% if you consider that most of the men at Marvel are pussies and thus honorary women. And you people will probably think I go out of my way to find this cancer. Not really. Unfortunately, most mainstream comics are bad. Many woke racist stuff, but some are just poorly written. Squirrel Girl, Ironheart, Black Panther, Shuri, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. The really insane woke anti-white stuff like Immortal Hulk by Al Ewing or Captain America with Ta-Nehisi Coates, or most of the Archie books, is only about 1 out of 10 books. Like I said, you're going to see a whole lot of number 1 issues and very few number 12 issues, unless you are Mags Visaggio. Then your books only go to 4, maybe 5. Comic book stores don't want books that sell 900 issues. You're just taking up space that could go to better projects, like Comicsgate books. The only people who are buying this are fellow drag queens who feel bad for mags, so they buy the issue and probably never open it. Anyway, when I see a breastless lesbian with the sides of her head shaved, I pick it up, my eyes just already rolling. This is the cover of issue number 1. So this is your hero. Just let me ask the obvious question. What is it about this that compels someone to pick it up and spend $4 on it? If you don't know the answer to that, let me answer it for you. Absolutely nothing. There's nothing about this. Nobody wants this. Let me tell you something. Lesbians don't want these butch lesbians. They're very, very rare. And even, I mean, what's the lesbian population? It's like 1%. And the percentage of them that want girls who look like that, big scar on her face, shaved side of her heads. Nobody. You're selling this book to nobody. That's why it's not going to make it to issue 6. Well, maybe it'll make it to issue 6, but it won't make it a year. I grabbed this because it has 2 issues, so it's easier to get a handle on the story. I sort of doubt that this will make it to even issue 6. Let me just give you the punchline found in the 2nd issue. Let's start with the image that uses the magic words, I'll have to say German Supreme people, but you saw the image, you know what I'm talking about. My eyes are rolling now as I write this. In all my videos, you're going to hear me sign with the unbelievable stupidity of NPC writing. They wait until issue 2 to finally come out with, "My Nazis!" At this point, 90% of readers are just not going to buy issue 3. And if you look at these woke comics sales figures, that's exactly what happens. Which is why Comicsgate is growing and mainstream comics is going up its own ass. Actually, this book is pretty upfront in what type of cancer it is. The story is so unbelievably heavy-handed. I know a lot of you guys like this writer, but this book just sucks. It just sucks a bag of dicks and keeps on sucking. Basically, the story is Trump derangement syndrome. The story is an obvious analogy or simile or maybe allegory, I always get those confused, about space Muslims who need to leave their war-torn shithole countries, and instead of going to other Muslim countries or simply staying in their homelands and fixing it, they need to go to space Europe and drive spaceships of peace into crowds. Their goal is to replace the native population and stab and rape their way into everyone's hearts. The story tries to blame other countries for the war, but they seem to forget that space Islam has been at war with themselves and everyone else for 1,400 years. The story is as subtle as a stripper in a synagogue. It's written strictly for a far-left audience, exactly the type of audience that doesn't buy books. This fascination with the Germans of the 1940s is so boring. Can we just stop? Obviously, the alt-left is blowing things out of proportion, so they can use the Germans as propaganda. It's just bad storytelling to constantly tell the same story over and over again. Move on. Pick a new boogeyman, like Islam, communism, black nationalism. You know, things that actually require some backbone to talk about. The story goes out of its way to shoehorn in the antagonist using Mausers from World War II, just so they could paint the bad guys as Hugh White supreme people. None of it makes sense. Military groups use the most reliable modern tools available. They don't use German rifles from World War II. That is just nonsense. Needless to say, that if a Mauser hits you in the shoulder, it would go right through you. The bullet would not even get caught in your shoulder. The whole scene is just embarrassing. It's those World War II battle rifles. Doesn't matter if you're talking about the Germans, the English, or the Americans. They're all roughly twice the power of a modern day battle rifle. Because back in World War II, they were designed to shoot much longer distances. So it was like a World War II battle rifle is just a deer rifle now. And in case you're not aware, a deer rifle is 2 or 3 times the power of an AK or an AR platform. It's a much bigger, longer bullet. It just has way more power. If you shoot someone in the shoulder, especially this little 140-pound girl, it would just simply go right through the shoulder. That shoulder, you would need to replace that with titanium or something. But I guess they just, and oh my God, there's a scene where she pulls the bullet out. She gets the bullet worked on. They pull the bullet out, and it's like, the bullet's 2 inches long, and it would be the equivalent of like a 500 grain bullet. And I mean, in case you're not a hunter, most those rifles of that era were using probably anything from like 180 to 250 grain bullets. And I'm trying to say the bullet is just way oversized. It's like a missile they pull out, but it's these people. All you have to do is just go to a Big Five and say, hey, I need a box of 20 Mauser shells, and they'll you buy the box of 20 bullets. You take one out and you just hold it in your hand as you draw it, and you go, oh, okay, it's as long as my finger, and it's as big around as my pinky, so this is roughly, you know what I'm saying? Do a little research. Anyway, basically, this comic is propaganda to say that countries that don't accept, and I misspelled that when I wrote it the first time. That's bad when you can't even, I correct other people's spellings, and then I make my own spelling errors. That don't accept Muslim colonizers are evil, except that, of course, the rules don't apply to Japan or Israel or any of the countries in the Middle East or Asia or pretty much the rest of the world. No open borders for them because they want to be around in 100 years, where Western Europe will be replaced by Muslims who are busy having a dozen kids by 3 different child brides. I keep saying, guys, it's not about comics. Comics hasn't been about comics since ever. Every story will expose the writer's bias, even the fairly neutral ones, pre-1990. It's just that pre-1990, the writers tried to be more fair and balanced. They were still left-wing, but they tried not to grind the axe. The irony isn't lost on me when a black writer is whining about evil Hawaii people, when it's actually people like him who are overrepresented in nationalist groups. There are more black identitarian groups than European ones, and we all know it's not the people of the light committing violent crime. That's what makes comics like this so freaking stupid. They go out of their way to defame the peaceful people of European descent. But the reader isn't stupid. Nobody fears a white group because they just don't commit violent crime. Well, to be fair, except for Antifa. Black men between 15 and 55 are vastly overrepresented in the commission of violent crime. They know they can write this racist garbage because very few people are going to speak out about it. It's haram to defend the POLs. They know that they can write propaganda against European people because everyone is too scared to ask the obvious questions. What about black, Asian, Muslim, Jewish supremacy groups? How come nobody talks about that? Well, we all know why, because the media, the colleges, the social media, they set the narrative. And some groups are protected and must never be mentioned. Boko Haram. I know that this topic disturbs a lot of people. They just want to play video games, smoke weed, and assume that there isn't anything they can do about it. But there is. You can pick up a cell phone and start making your own videos. This is the bad guy, and these are the bad people with the upside-down crosses. Okay, is it supposed to look like a World War II uniform? I guess so. This is stupid. This is stupid. That's our hero. That's the hero. Why? Who wants to see this? A breastless lesbian with the sides of her head shaved, a mohawk. That's, nobody wants that. That's her butt. That's not how you draw a butt. Please, just give some sex appeal. Is the character supposed to be trans? I don't know. This just sucks. It just sucks. All right, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you with more cancer next episode.